attention to the defense space. Now, defense has been such a structural theme of our markets over the last few years, and many investors point out that perhaps it's got a long runway. Now, CareEdge Ratings, in its recent note, says the Indian defense sector is set to grow at a compounded annual growth rate of 20% over the next 5 years on the back of strong government backing, increasing private sector participation. They also anticipate India's defense exports will grow in tandem with government spending at an estimated rate of 19% from FY24 to FY29. We have with us Dr. Naveen Kumar, Associate Director at CareEdge Ratings, joining in. Naveen, thank you very much for joining in. So first, tell us the crux, the key points of your research report. 20% top-line growth for the industry for the next 5 years?
Yeah. So, we expect, basically what we see is that both, the government and the private participation is been constantly, increasing in this particular space. Especially, what we see is that since gaining up the independence in 1947, India has gradually transitioned from relying on the imported military hardware to enhancing the indigenous defense capabilities. This shift is, driven by the domestic manufacturing and the technology transfer agreements. Today, defense sector includes both diverse mix of public and private enterprise involved in various aspects, such as from defense to research and development. And apart from that, we also see that India's defense budget has consistently ranged between 1.9% to 2.8% of the GDP. And in the current year, we see the fiscal outlay of about 6.22 lakh crore. And for the defense production, it is about 1.75 lakh crore. So based upon this, we understand that the defense sector is expected to grow by about 20% going forward for next 3 to 4 years.
What is the percentage of indigenization right now in the production, and what was it earlier? If you could just talk about that.
Earlier, primarily the country was a net importer. But what we see is that there was a concerted kind of an effort which was made by the Indian defense industry. Especially, it was supported by the policy reforms such as Make in India, which is bringing about the gradual shift. Today, India boasts an expanding defense industry encompassing wide range of advanced military weaponry systems. India's defense include diverse array of aircraft, naval systems, missile technology, and all. So what we see is that over the last 6 years, ending in FY24, the Indian defense exports have grown at a healthy CAGR of about 28%, and the CareEdge estimates that the India's defense exports will consistently grow in tandem with the government spending, that is about 20% going forward.
Naveen, so you've spoken about two important aspects. Number one is the own Indian government spend, and then number two is the export opportunity. Now, talking about the Indian domestic market, where do you see the key opportunities lie? So what kind of companies will be more benefited, and what is it, do you feel, in the next AON, that is the acceptance of necessity, will you see what kind of weapons do you feel there will be need for further spending on?
See, we have got, when it comes to domestic companies, so there are now about 4 to 5 key players, key companies which are making this effort. One is Bharat Dynamic Laboratories, and there's a HL, there's a Mazgaon is there. So these are the main entities. Apart from that, the Ordnance Factory Board, comprising of about, which is currently divided into seven corporates. These form the critical in terms of the domestic defense public sector undertaking companies, which form about 80% of the entire defense industry. Whereas when it comes to the private sector, there are about 4 or 5 players are there, which comes from the Tata Group, L&T, Mahindra Defense, Kalyani Group. These all play a pivotal role in advancing the defense modernization, leveraging their engineering technological expertise.
Okay, so you've spoken about the improvement as far as the expertise is concerned. Now, coming to a name like a Bharat Electronics, where there have been multiple one-time opportunities, do you feel that there will be a lumpy nature as far as order wins are concerned, or do you see that there can be steady order wins, especially when it comes to defense spends? H1 especially was quite muted when it came to orders actually coming in.
See, what we see is that the Indian government has made an estimation of reaching its defense production to about 3 lakh crore by FY29. So what we say is that in order to achieve this kind of growth, they have to make a CAGR of growth of about 20%. So in that context, if I have to see, then there may be during one specific quarter, there may kind of be lumpiness, but we see that overall there will be kind of growth prospects are going to be very healthy for all these companies which are there in the public sector undertaking.
Any particular stock analysis? Have you chatted with the companies? Because earlier there was some concern that the execution may not keep up.
Oh, sorry, execution?
Execution on the end of the companies may not keep up. We may see a lot of order win announcements. But in terms of that translating into revenues or just the pure execution may not keep up with the kind of headlines that we get.
See, what we understand is that, especially when it comes to the DPSU part, there is a kind of dependency on the certain import of certain key raw metal from the Russia and all. So what we have seen is that because of the geopolitical issues, these imports have been to some extent been inhibited. Because of it, there's a slight delay in terms of the execution. However, with the subsiding of this geopolitical tension to some extent, now we see that the execution and the production is being on track. So what we see is that going forward with the increase in the indigenization within the domestic market, this the what are the lumpiness or the crescent troughs are going to even out going forward is what we understand.
Naveen, one last question from our end. What we want to understand is, especially in the case of a name like HAL, which is, in the process of manufacturing the LCA or the light combat aircraft, they've been dependent on supplies from someone like a GE. And this particular delay has caused significant waiting as far as the investors are concerned and as far as the revenue booking itself is concerned. You did mention about supply chain challenges. Do you see this continuing, in the coming years as well? And how do players overcome this?
With respect, I abstain from making a comment company specific. So while we overall, what I say is that not only for the HL, overall the industry, whether it is like BrahMos, whether it is for JV with both India and the Russian government, and also the ordnance factory boards where they have got partnership with the Russian entities and other countries, we see that there is some kind of supply chain issues which are taking place because of geopolitical issues. But what we see is that this is not a kind of a sustaining factor, this inhibitions factor which are playing out. So overall, what we're seeing is that though there is a kind of lackness is there in a H1 or probably 1 or 2 quarters or 3 quarters, but eventually it is evening it out. So that's why I was saying that this crescent troughs are going forward is going to significantly even out, and we are going to see that much more dynamic is going to play in the domestic industry, defense industry, especially with the private participation coming in. This particular industry is definitely going to grow by about 20%, what we envisage.
Thank you very much for joining in, and wish you a very happy new year. Get into a break. We'll come back and talk technicals. Avni Bhatt of JM Financial Services will join in next.